It is over in Oakland. Steph Curry goes for 41 tonight. Becomes the first player in NBA history to hit at least 8 threes in 3 straight games. And after trailing by as many as 17, thanks in part to Curry's 20-point third quarter, Warriors come back to win it by 7 on their home floor. That's now 6 straight wins for them. Curry with 41, Kevin Durant with 30 points. He also had 15 rebounds. And the two teams made a combined 43 threes. That's a new NBA record for a single game. On the same night that the Rockets and Nets set a new record for combined three-point attempts earlier tonight. The Rockets set a record for attempts with 70 attempted threes. But the Warriors, with DeMarcus Cousins expected to make his debut on Friday when they start their 5-game road trip, are cruising at the right time.
You know, they really are. And we must be mindful that they were struggling there for a minute there. Obviously, Curry was out, came back. Obviously the Green situation with Kevin Durant. And it was the first time that we've seen this team in the last 4 years where they didn't look sure or certain or just didn't have that rhythm. But going into tonight, they were averaging 131 games during that 5-game win streak. They come out and score 140 plus. So they are finding their rhythm as we expected they would. And it's going to be interesting. I'm excited to see DeMarcus Cousins and how that works. And we'll take some time to figure out and fit it all together. But they're good enough to continue to win games even while Cousins is working his way into the lineup. And, they weathered the storm. Now they're kind of back in first place, and they have a chance now to at least to differentiate themselves and get a little bit of a lead on the rest of the pack in the Western Conference.
Part of the mission for Cuz now is don't mess this up, right? I mean, they've won 6 in a row. They've scored 140 or more in 5 straight games now.
They're not worried about the regular season. They're not worried about, even if Cuz does mess this up for a couple of games while they try to integrate him in, he tries to get back in shape, in game shape that is. So they're not worried about it because they understand what they can do. They understand the task at hand and just how talented they are. We're starting to see now the Golden State Warriors really turn it on. First half, they had the adversity, but now we're starting to see them gain form. And we already know that when they're clicking on all cylinders, they are the best team in the NBA by far. They're adding arguably one of the best big men into their lineup, and it's going to create some problems on the post because when DeMarcus Cousins starts playing one-on-one on the block, and you have all that weak side action with those weak side splits, the pin downs, the back screens, the slips to the basket, it's going to create a lot of space for him to go one-on-one. And then at the same time, he's an excellent passer. He can find Clay, Steph, and Durant on the weak side. When he gets in shape, I'm not sure how teams will guard him in the post. Where are you going to double from?
It's going to be fascinating. Meanwhile, more three-point records, as I mentioned just a moment ago. Where are we going with all this? I'm having trouble remembering some of the three-point records now because they're set and reset and broken again, even during the middle of a single season.
It's a new wave, Matt. It's a new game, and the game is played differently. It's all about pace and space, getting up and down, and it's about taking threes, not contested twos. So a lot of teams now, they're following that model that Golden State or that Houston uses, that where they want to shoot threes or they want to get to the basket. They'll let some of their guys take the contested twos, but that's not really the shot that they want right now, and it's created a different brand of basketball where we're seeing threes shot in lots of waves and bunches.
And I think it's only going to increase. I mean, as the years go on, as we move forward and sort of predict to the future, you're going to continue to see a high volume of threes and really get further and further away from any other shot. And so it'll be interesting to see then what kind of effect it has on the game. Will the pendulum ultimately at some point swing back? Or will the league maybe change the three-point line? I mean, when the line was put in, it was more of a novelty. Now,
maybe give the defense a chance, hand checking or something.
Yeah, I mean, there may be some changes. You know, the talent in terms of three-point shooting now is just off the chart. The line is almost too close.
Right.
And so, these were things that I just sort of predict that might be part of the conversation moving forward. How can we level it out a little bit? Because we're just trending that it's, 70 might be the norm in a few years, and which is scary to think.
It's crazy, yeah. At some point, it has to level off because you can only take so many shots in a game, and they can't all be threes, right? But I don't know when that is coming. The numbers just keep going up and up and up.
I think it'll come when big men force the game to be changed and force the game to be played a little bit differently.
It's an interesting question.
Could be.
Warriors get the win tonight, 6 in a row for them. LeBron James news today from Los Angeles. It's not great news for the Lakers. We have that and much more coming up on Game Time.
We got 2 games for you on Thursday, trusting the process, visiting the Pacers, and then the Lakers and Russell Westbrook and PG-13. 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Coverage starts at 6:30 with the Game Time. That's us on NBA TV. Now, you notice I didn't say LeBron because he will not be playing. LeBron James out for at least 2 more games. However, he has been cleared to return to practice next week. Since injuring his groin, the Lakers have gone 4-7 in 11 games without him. Their next 2 are on the road at OKC, which is on our network, and at Houston. And Rich Paul, his agent, weighed in today, reading, quote, "We don't give a bleep what anyone, what nobody thinks or says. We're going to do what's best for him. The best case scenario was 3 weeks. The worst case was 6 weeks. And we're right on schedule," end quote. Rich Paul drops the mic and walks off. Number one, how often do agents put out statements like this for their players speaking for them as a spokesperson? How often do you see this in the NBA or any professional sport?
It's unique.
Happens.
Yeah,
Does it seem unusual or am I tripping?
No, I think it's unique in LeBron's case because we're so used to hearing directly from LeBron James. But I would sense that the rancor about where's LeBron rescue this season, as it cranks up, there are going to be instances where somebody has to say something. I think this might have been Rich Paul just kind of want to set the record straight. I think it makes a lot of sense, too, Fish. If there was an internal understanding of what the timeline would be for LeBron, there's no amount of outside pressure or social media that's going to accelerate it. I mean, this is a guy who has never really been sidelined in this way, so why would you rush at this stage of the career? It would be foolish.
Yeah, it makes no sense. I think he's spot on. Whether we typically hear from Rich or not, it makes sense. He's LeBron's agent. His job description is to do what's best for LeBron. So what he says makes sense, and I agree in terms of the timing. I think everyone's just kind of clamoring for something because LeBron hasn't really spoken. Obviously, the Lakers are being cautious. They're not saying much other than he'll be reevaluated at the proper times. And so it's more noise than anything. With a significant groin injury, to 2 or 3 weeks later to be wondering why he's not back tonight doesn't really compute for me. So I say continue to take your time and do what you need to do.
All players are different. We saw Steph Curry have a similar injury. He missed 11 games earlier in the season. Steph, of course, a little bit younger than LeBron. But taking it onto the basketball court, how urgent is it for a player of LeBron's stature, who's obviously the best player in the league, the most important player on their franchise, for him to get back, seeing how they've slid from a top 4 seed now down to teetering to maybe being a lottery team?
Well, it's important for him to get back as soon as possible, but that has to be done in the right way. Steph Curry's injury probably was a different type of injury. LeBron's play was an awkward play and looked to put much more severe strain on the groin area than the play we saw from Steph Curry's injury. Getting LeBron back is paramount, but remember, this is month 4 of year 1. So if you want the LeBron James for the next 3.5 seasons to play at the MVP type level that he's capable of and showing no signs of really slowing down, then it is paramount to be patient right now. A few weeks now saves you a few years later, and that's what they need to do with this young man.
Well, it seems like you definitely want to take that into consideration, but let's not forget LeBron's not getting any younger. We all know Father Time's undefeated, so while you still want to manage that injury, you still want to make sure you don't lose an opportunity. This is a team that was right there close to the 2 seed earlier in the season.
But that was early in this season. There was also a situation where did we really think the Lakers were a top 2 or 3 team in the Western Conference right now? So what they're doing is exposing themselves for what we knew them to be without LeBron James. A team that would be maybe battling for one of those final spots in the playoff mix. The bigger pressure to me on the Lakers is actually external. You got now a Utah team with a very favorable schedule coming up, throughout this entire second half of the season, and they're playing better. So now if you're the Lakers, you're not just playing for the internal expectations. Now you got to worry about the real estate around you and who is climbing, who's coming up after you, chasing that playoff spot that you've been sitting in. That's where I think the pressure, not on LeBron or anybody else, but just on the organization itself, weighs heavier than it might have otherwise. Look at what the Jazz, the Kings, and really the Timberwolves and Pelicans are kind of out there, but not a threat right now the way that the Jazz are, clear and present. And then the Kings, if they get on a roll, then that's another team you got to worry about. What you got to have if you're the Lakers is LeBron back healthy and drama-free down the stretch run of the season. If it takes 2 or 3 more games, 4 games, whatever it is, you weigh that out and allow LeBron the time he needs to get healthy.
We talked about this off cam, but showing the signs of panic is when you look at Magic and Rob Pelinka and those guys. And Derek, I'll direct this question directly to you since you're familiar with the inner workings of that organization. Is there a situation where they make a knee-jerk reaction and make a move even though they're still waiting on LeBron just to try to maintain staying afloat in the Western Conference playoff standings?
I don't get the sense that that's what the feelings are. I think the thoughts lead more towards the future than right now. I believe the move to add LeBron James this year, or the decision that he made to come to L.A., was really about what they're going to build this year into next year and really positioning themselves to be a destination for another top free agent or another top player via trade. Mm-hmm. And I think they've done a lot of that work. I do think that there are other players around the league that at the right time, and if things fit together, they will be willing to join LeBron in L.A. And I think that's on track. And so I'm not sure if there's any huge move they would make in terms of LeBron being in or out. I think that move will be made either way.
The only potential wrinkle in this entire timeline, of course, is the trade deadline. If somebody is desperate at the trade deadline to make a move or to do something, and the Lakers are on that phone, then all bets are off. We don't know what might happen. But I think that would be the case whether LeBron is in uniform
Correct.
or not.
That's what I agree with.
Having the trade deadline on the schedule the way we do before All-Star Weekend changes the dynamic, changes everybody's metric on how you approach it. That's the only – if the Lakers get past the deadline, Fish, why would you do anything to upset what you potentially have going on this summer? You ride this season out no matter what, no matter who's healthy. Let chips fall where they will and continue with your long-term plan to build this organization back up to the point where it can be a contender for years to come.
The NBA trade line coming up 2 weeks from tomorrow, so make sure you keep it locked right here on NBA TV where we have all the latest updates on all the latest trade news. Luka Doncic, leading candidate for Rookie of the Year. We're going to talk to Jeff Skin Wade, who has all the insight on what's going on in Dallas. More Game Time coming up.
Ended Toronto's 5-game win streak, and I don't have the standings in front of me. I believe that knocked Toronto out of the best record in the league, right? Milwaukee won tonight?
Something like it.
I'll double check this.
Milwaukee is, Milwaukee's 32-12. Milwaukee's number 1.
117-108. Thank you very much. There's your final, and here's Kyrie Irving. Not that Kyrie necessarily had to say something about who should be closing games in Boston, but there's no better evidence than what we just saw.
Yeah, when we talked about it there, probably one of the best closers. Won games, playoff games, championship, game 7s. And they needed that. The 3 bad losses they had on the road at Orlando, at Miami, Brooklyn as well. So to get back home against a great team, Kyrie Irving came out, played great. Of course, Toronto, give them credit. They fought back in the game, made it a close game, but Irving down the stretch is just too good.
Yeah, Irving down the stretch is incredible, and I liked how he bounced back from the adversity that he had been through. There, obviously, in the Orlando game, he wasn't happy with the way the game ended. He didn't get the ball, felt that he should have gotten the ball. Made some comments that his teammates didn't like. He later reeled it back in. But instead of harping on it, he made his apology, went past it. And this game, he proved why he needs to be the guy that gets the ball at the end of the game. And so it's more about showing than talking about it with your mouth. He showed why he should be the closer, hitting big shot after big shot. And I think that's something that these young guys on this team can respect, because you can talk about it, but these young guys last year, they were a game away from the NBA Finals, so all the lip service doesn't matter. They want to see it.
Right.
And tonight, Kyrie showed it. Uncle Drew was in the building, and he was saying Uncle Drew needs the ball in the clutch.
His clutch resume is pretty good, as you made mention of.
Sometimes people forget, so you got to, hey, just when they forget, you got to remind them who you really are.
You're from Missouri, right?
Yes.
Show me state.
You got to show me.
Sometimes you got, especially younger people.
It's absolutely true. So 2-1, Boston leads the season series now. What do you feel like you know about these two teams were they to hook up in a playoff series?
Absolutely nothing. Absolutely not. Because Boston has been so inconsistent all year long. They have these big wins, and then they will baffle you, and they'll get blown out by somebody that they shouldn't be blown out by. So I'm waiting to see for Boston to show me some consistency. I know they have the best talent in the Eastern Conference. I'm waiting for that talent to come together consistently like it did tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Brendan said it best. I mean, we see this performance tonight by Boston, but then they're the type of team that, next time could be blown out by 25. And so they have to figure it out. I think we all knew it would take some time as you reinsert Kyrie Irving from last year, Hayward coming off the injury, guys who had great roles last year and came out of, Tatum and Brown. But we thought it'd be figured out by now. And it's a little bit alarming. Great win tonight, but they didn't look great the last 3 games.
Right.
They can put together maybe the second half of the season, just a run of games, 2 or 3 weeks where they get hot and they start playing the basketball we all anticipated. Then you might start saying, okay, this is the Boston team. But until then, I'd probably go more with Toronto just because I know what I'm going to get from Toronto. The consistency of what they've shown throughout the season will carry over to the playoffs.
Even within this game in the fourth quarter when Toronto was going on I think it was a 9-0 or 10-0 run to get back into the game and retake the lead, Boston had some terrible possessions before Kyrie kind of took over the game.
That's the difference between these two teams. The consistency that Toronto has, the role definition. Though you rarely see guys get out of character for the Toronto Raptors. Everybody knows their role. We played through Kyle Lowry, we played through Kawhi, and I get my shots off of them, and that's why everything moves smoothly. When you watch Boston, those Boston players sometimes hold the ball just a second too much. And that 1 second, that's the difference between getting a good shot and a great shot because they're all looking and trying to figure out when is it my turn to get mine? And that can be a problem at times when you don't have those roles clearly defined.
No, I mean, you said it best. I mean, you look at Boston, and obviously Kyrie Irving is who he is. He's the best player on the team. But, Tatum was the go-to guy last year in the playoffs. And then you have, Terry Rozier, who has a chip on his shoulder and feels like he should be getting his numbers. Hayward is a guy who's been accustomed to being that guy. So you have a lot of guys who are accustomed to being the alpha male and now having to figure out how to adjust and adapt and fit in. And it's not working right now, whereas, it's not working consistently.
Right.
But in Toronto, it's clearly defined.
Sure.
And so that's why they've been able to play at a high level, pretty consistent throughout the year.
Good one tonight in Boston, and the Celtics beat Toronto 117-108. Checking in on the Pelicans.